I'm live on my personal profile, on my Facebook page, on Twitter, on YouTube, and LinkedIn because today is a really, really big day for me. And so I want to share a bit of a story because what has happened to me in the last 9 months is now a very, very important part of my story. But the last 9 months are really only the accumulation of what happened before that. So the whole story is about 2 years long. I'm not going to take 2 years to tell you, but I'll title the video When You Can Finally Tell the World a Secret Using Music to Improve My Own Mental Health. Because I've had a bit of a secret for the last 9.5 months or so. And today I've been finally able to tell everyone about it. And the nature of what I do is kind of compartmentalized in some ways. So I've got my work as a piano coach, and that's what many of you might know me in connection with. I help adults across the world to play piano in 15 minutes a day. That's what I do. But I've got another side of my life where I talk about mental health, and particularly men's mental health, obviously. And that's connected to baby loss, because myself and my wife, we lost a daughter in March 2020. And the mental health journey that's happened off the back of that is obviously a huge part of our own personal story. And of course, if any of you have ever heard me talk about the connection between music and mental health before, you'll know that this is a really important part of my story as well. Because I think I know there is a connection between music and how it makes us feel. And of course, mental health is, at least in part, how we feel about our day-to-day lives, and how we feel about what's happening to us, and how we process it, and how we're able to cope with, the highs and the lows. So there's a connection between music and this stuff that is really, really important to me. And so today I've been able to sort of finally tell everyone something that's happened that connects it all together for me. And for those of you who are, I'm connected to a lot of people in sort of coaching backgrounds or coaching businesses, or they help people with all kinds of anxiety coaching or personal coaching or business development coaching or whatever it might be. There's this kind of perception of how there's always like this challenge to people who coach and help people, that we need to walk the walk. We can't just tell people what to do and then have our own lives be a real train wreck, right? We've got to be able to walk the walk and bring it all together, or at least, do our best to do so. So what's happened to me today is really like a culmination of a lot of work, but of a lot of stories of separate compartments of my life sort of really coming together. So I wanted to share this. And I don't know how long this is going to take. It might take 5 minutes, it might take 10 minutes, it might take 20 minutes. I don't know. But this is a really important thing for me to talk about. And so I hope whether you're able to watch this live or whether you're able to watch this on replay, you get something out of this. And wherever you're watching it, whether you're watching on one of my pages or my Facebook group or on YouTube, I really want you to let me know in the comments how you feel about this, because I think this is a really important subject. So I've been playing music since I was 5 years old, right? It's all right. I'm not going to tell you the whole life story. But I've been playing music since I was 5 years old. And ever since I was a teenager, one of the things that I'd always wanted to do, and I say this next phrase with a smile on my face, with no self-pretension whatsoever, but as a kid, getting into rock music as a teenager, I wanted to be a rock star. I mean, I wanted to be a footballer as well and a DJ. Not everyone knows about that. But I wanted to be a rock star, whatever that meant as a kid, right? In reality, when you start getting into the music business, you know that not many people actually get to be a rock star, but just I wanted to play my own music and write my own music and have people know it and listen to it and buy it and appreciate it and just be acknowledged for what I did. I didn't necessarily expect to play arenas or anything like that, but I just wanted to have my own music, like a legacy, right? And what's really strange about being a piano player who loves heavy metal music is that piano and keyboards are really sort of laughed at in a lot of heavy metal, particularly in extreme heavy metal. And for those of you who don't operate in that world, metal music is my musical heart. It's my musical soul. But piano is not really welcome there a lot. And that's a bit of a conflict, right? It's a bit of a strange conflict. There are literally metal records in where they'll say in capital letters on the artwork, no keyboards on this album, like a stamp of approval. Like that's a good thing. So here's me as a piano player when I was a kid, from like 5 years old until I was like 12 when I got my grade 8, and I was teaching piano at 15, getting into rock music as a teenager. And I'm listening to these records that proudly don't want keyboards on them. So anyway, that's a bit of a background story. But in some kinds of metal music, keyboards are welcome, but in some they're really not. Anyway, so I couldn't play my instrument very easily and get into like being in a famous band or being in a band full stop. I mean, like, because the most important thing in metal is often the guitars, right? So could I sing? Well, I sort of could functionally sing, but the kind of metal music that I really personally enjoyed had like these big sort of screaming vocals in there, and I can't do that. So I couldn't sing to make the music that I loved, and I couldn't play my instrument to play the music I loved. I could. There are some kinds of metal music I said that, as I say, I could have got into. I could have like made some power metal or something, but and of course there are other kinds, but it never really felt like a good fit. And one of the most interesting sort of crossroads moments for me was when I got my first job as a piano teacher in Yorkshire in the Kirklees Music Service. And I got it just before I finished my degree. And you're 21 years old. You're at the age where it doesn't really matter if you don't make a lot of money, because you've got life in front of you. Now is the time to really have a go and do something that you really care about and love about and have a go. And then I got offered this job, which I think was like 18 quid an hour, just before I finished uni, and it just felt like too good to turn down. And I sometimes wonder what would have happened had I not taken that crossroads. But I know all of the things that happened as a result of that, so I don't regret it. But feels like a real crossroads moment for me. Anyway, so then I was in a job, right? So now I was earning money, and once you started earning money as a musician, to sort of walk away from that and then try and make it in a band starts looking a lot harder, because you get comfortable, right? I guess people in a lot of other professions can probably relate to that. So anyway, I was in a few little bands playing guitar and sort of singing a bit when I was in my early 20s, but yeah, they were just local bands. Nothing really got anywhere. So then we fast forward. So I'm doing my PhD. I'm in my 30s now, and my PhD was about national identity in Northern and Eastern European heavy metal. Not everyone knows, right? I'm a doctor of heavy metal music, which is, some people think I should use Doctor Metal or Dr. Deeks in my branding, but I'm that piano guy. I suppose I could use it as well. But anyway, so I got this doctorate writing about how bands were using history and folklore and mythology and folk music and legend and myths and poetry to represent where they're from. They're using old paintings on their artwork. They were using these poems and myths as their lyrics. They were using old folk tunes as their music. And this has become a huge thing across loads of different styles of heavy metal music in the last 20 years or so, 30 years. And I really, really got into this. And as part of researching that, I got in contact with a band called Winterfylleth. They're an English band. I say they, I can say we now, because we got on so well, and I ended up helping them with some of their recordings, that I joined the band. I got asked to join the band, and I've been in Winterfylleth for like 7 years now or something like that. Made a few records together. And so now I was really involved with like a well-known band. We've got a bit of a following, making records that I really, really love and I can be involved with. And I love, love, love being in Winterfylleth. I love all the guys. We've made some records that I really enjoy. And, it's nice to be recognised. And our last record, The Reckoning Dawn, got to number 7 in the UK charts in 2020. You can't see it with the light glinting off it, but that's a magazine cover with Winterfylleth on the cover of Zero Tolerance magazine. And yeah, we're all on the cover of that magazine, and yeah, it just feels great, right? But there was one little part of it that wasn't quite ticked yet. And that was as I say, I love being into Winterfylleth. I love getting involved in the writing of music. I love everything we do. We're great guys, we're great friends. But I'd kind of joined the project halfway through, joined the band halfway through. They were like 4 records in when I joined. So I hadn't been there at the beginning. And because of the nature of what I do, I help with the sort of some of the writing. I help with some of the vocal writing and singing. I help with little bits of keyboards here and there. So I get involved, but I'm not in a song all the way through very much. We made an acoustic album in 2018 called The Hallowing of Erdom, and I was heavily involved in all that. But in most Winter Films material, I'm just sort of in little sections here and there. And it's great. I love what we do, but I wanted my own thing, my own project. So how does this then get on to using music to improve my own mental health? So, as I said earlier, March 2020, we lose our daughter Laurie, and we're then dealing with the mental health battle after that, and also the fact it was like a week before the first UK lockdown and the world went to shit anyway. So now we had a real sort of combination of things to deal with. And I'd been promised myself for a long time that I would write a metal album. I wanted a project of my own that I could really pour my heart into it. And I'd put it off. And Angela was forever, you should really write it. You should put some time into it. You want to write. I had this concept of art, right? It means my native land in the old dialect of Northumbria. I had this concept for a while, but I never got around to it. I put it off, and I'm always making musical projects for other people. Always putting it off, stalling. I'd be at the bottom of the list. I'd never get around to it. I'd make excuses. My heart wasn't really in it. Yeah, it'll never happen for me. The time's gone. I'm in my 40s now. Whatever. And Angela would chivvy me, and my good friend Dan, who was the guitarist in Winterfell at the time, he does a lot of graphics work for me. He kept chivvying me as well. He's like, "You've got an album, and you've got an album of this style in you." And I couldn't quite picture it. I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly how I wanted the music to go and what kind of feel and vibe and atmosphere I wanted it to be. And Angela and I went on holiday to, she'll kill me for forgetting where it was. I think it was in Tenerife. We were in Tenerife just for a few days. And I had some music in my earphones, and we were on a balcony overlooking this bay, beautiful sunny day, sunshine, and loads of waves. And I love staring at the sea. I always get inspired by staring at the sea. And when I've got some time, that's when my creative brain starts going. When I actually make myself stop and I can just sit and look and listen to music or whatever, that's when my brain started going. And I was listening to an Irish band that I really, really like called Morning Beloveth. And something in my brain was going, right, I love this kind of music. It's called doom, right? There's all different kinds of doom metal. For those of you not into metal music, you don't need to worry about it. But I was listening to this, and doom music is really slow. It's really emotive. It's mournful, sorrowful melodies. And I was listening to Morning Beloveth, staring at the sea, thinking, I love this kind of music. I could play guitar a bit, but I wouldn't call myself a guitarist, but I can functionally do a job on guitar. I'm a piano player. What if I was to make a piano-led, piano at the forefront version of this kind of doom metal music? I wonder what that would sound like. And literally over the space of an hour or two, I was like, this makes complete sense to me. Why have I never thought about this before? Because doom metal doesn't have to have extreme vocals. I can sing, melodic vocals over the top of it. I know how to play the piano. I can play guitar well enough to play doom. I don't need to be able to play really fast shredding guitar, because a lot of extreme metal is really very fast, right? And that's when my guitar I can't do that. I can do basic functional slow guitar quite happily, rhythm guitar stuff, but I can't do fast shredding lead stuff. So suddenly everything sort of clicked in my head, and now it started to make sense. And I started I came home from holiday and started writing a bit more. So this is before we'd lost Laurie. But then when we lost Laurie, I really was feeling, the grieving process. Now I was at home a lot more, as every one of us was. And I'm just like, you need to use the time now. This is the time. Write the art album. Stop saying you're going to do it. Write the art album. And so I wrote it all on piano, and used my my piano skills, my keyboard skills, and a basic recording setup at home to start demoing this material. And it just started pouring out at me and started making sense. And without telling you the entire full story, essentially what happened was that while I was writing this music, I started to experience panic attacks as a result of grieving, losing Laurie. And I now was realizing that I professionally help people to use music to improve their mental health. Because when I talk about my piano coaching work, I talk about using music to feel better, to unwind, to reduce stress, to improve your well-being. It's all in the sort of well-being language. And I got countless anecdotal stories of people playing piano with my help, 15 minutes a day, to just use it as like a pressure valve on their lives, and it helps them feel better. And so I help people to do this, but now here I was needing to use music to improve my mental health in some way, because I was now sort of pouring what I was going through into this music. Now, I never expected really anyone to hear it. I've released 2 piano albums. Some of you will have heard them, Lightburst and Left by the Sail Road, in 2015, 2016. I've released them myself. I never got a record label involved with that. That was just an independent project. Pressed some CDs myself and, sold them. But it was a case that now I decided that if I was going to make this art album, I didn't care if it was the most expensive set of MP3s I ever made. If I was going to do it, it needed to be done properly, because I knew it needed proper guitars on it. I knew it needed proper drums on it. I wanted loads of cello on it. So if it was going to be done, it was going to have to be done properly. I didn't want to half-ass it with the computer at home. Let's get some people involved who I really, really respect and know will do a great job. So I hired Chris Fielding to produce it, who produces all the Winterfilth records. I got Joe Quayle on cello, who's literally the best cellist I've ever seen in my life, who plays on some of the Winterfilth stuff as well. I got Dan Kapp, who'd been inspiring me and chivying me to write the art album, who his Project Wilkinsman, and he was in Winterfilth at the time. Great guitarist and singer. I got Callum from Atavist to play drums on it. And I just set about, right, I don't care how much this costs. I'm making this record as good as I can possibly make it, and then I'll worry about seeing if anyone wants to hear it. And I was comfortable with that. Totally comfortable with that. And one of the last things I wrote for the album was a melody that... So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, Michael and Kaylee, had got a star named after Laurie for us. So there's a Laurie Deek star in the Andromeda system. We didn't know anything about it. It was a complete surprise until a star chart arrived in the post, which is obviously really moving and really magical for us. And so that is the coordinates of my tattoo on my arm. I got the tattoo on my arm so I could see it when I was playing piano. That's the coordinates of the star, the Laurie Deek star. And I call it my heart on my sleeve. I wanted it there so I could see it when I'm playing piano every day. But one morning I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of the night and thought, I wonder what would happen if those numbers weren't star coordinates. What if they were the numbers of a musical scale? What would that melody sound like? And I turned it into a melody. And then when I went for a run the next morning, I was putting chords underneath it in my head, going round and round, thinking, right, so if it's that, it's that. That would fit like that. And sort of use the whole run to go round and round and round in a loop. And I figured out the melody. And so the song that became part of isn't about Laurie whatsoever. It's not... the album, if you've watched, I'll link to the where you can find out a bit more about my project Art. It's spelled A-R-D, but the D is like a hard TH, Art. It means my native land in the old dialect of Northumbria. So I wondered, the song that it became part of, this melody became part of, isn't about Laurie. It's a concept album about the death of the bones of the Saint Cuthbert from Northumberland. But I wanted to have this musical tribute to Laurie. And so unofficially, this melody in our house became known as Laurie's theme. And every time I hear that melody, it's on the last track of the album. And I'll be telling you much more about the album over the next few weeks, because in 2 weeks' time you can order it. It's coming out in early 2022. That melody is there. It's called Laurie's theme, and every time I hear it, I just feel a little bit, that's really, really comforting to me. I've got the star coordinates on my arm, and the melody that's in that song. That is my musical tribute to Laurie. It means it's part of me being able to say that her life meant something. It's part of me. It's immortalized. It's recorded forever. No one could take that away. That is Laurie's theme. It's not identified as Laurie's theme anywhere on the album because, as I say, the album's not about it. But in my mind and in my wife's mind, that's a musical tribute to Laurie. And so that's how I've used music to improve my own mental health, because I didn't know how else to do it. So I kind of turned to what I know best. So that's how I've done it. And so then we come to today. I said it might be 20 minutes. And today is the secret I couldn't tell anyone for 9 months. And now I can. So in January 2021, when the album was finished, I had used some friends of mine to help me try and speak to some record labels. And within a couple of weeks, I had 3 offers of record deals. And I chose Prophecy Productions because they are a legendary label. They're based in Germany and America. They're a huge label in my musical world. They're the label of bands like Imperium and Tenhi and Falkenbach and Duel, and Saturnus have just signed to Prophecy. So I am now alongside bands that I, as a fan, love, and it feels amazing. Feels amazing. It's what I always wanted. It's what I always dreamt of. And I'm going to reveal, in the next days and a couple of weeks, all the different formats you're going to be able to buy the album on. It looks amazing. I'm so proud. At no stage did I ever compromise, because I made it with the soul in the right place. I made it with the dream in the right place. I made it, this music is what I want it to be. And if nobody else likes it, we hear musicians talk about this in rock magazines and stuff. If no one else likes it, we don't care. Anyone else likes it, it's a bonus. Totally true. Totally true. I nearly made compromises on some musical aspects, and I said, no, this is how I envisage it. I was perfectionist in terms of the artwork, in terms of the lyrics, in terms of the concept, in terms of the videos that are going with it. I really, really, really refused to make any compromise, because this was just, for once, my musical project. Exactly how I want it, because my life is making music to order and helping people play their music and playing their music for them. And for once, I got to 44 years old. I was like, no, this is how I'm doing it. And to have the support of a label like Prophecy is utterly unbelievable. I cannot believe a label of that size has just gone, yes. And then, in fact, Martin, the boss of Prophecy, said, fastest signing in Prophecy's history. They've been going 25 years. I'll take that. It doesn't mean anything. It just feels nice. But they really, really believe in it. They've supported me, and all the team there, Marco and Rachel and Gunnar and Andreas and Martin and Gerrit, all the team at Prophecy, just thank you for all the faith you've put in it. I cannot tell you how much it means to me. Andrew's been an amazing support, really supportive and pushing me all the way to just do it for me. Just do it for me. This is for you. And she came in today with a little bottle of champagne. Bless her. So I'll have that tonight when I get in from taking my choir rehearsal. Choir rehearsal tonight. So that's my little story about how I've used music to improve my own mental health, and how today is really the start of a big chapter for me. And I don't expect this music to be the kind of music that everyone loves, and that's fine. It's called doom metal, I guess, to use. You might hear people use melodic doom or mournful doom. So it's all quite low male vocal. There's no extreme vocals, no screaming. It's all very slow. Think sort of monastic, monk style, Gregorian chant style, if you want to call it that. It's all based in some historical tales from the region of England that I'm in, Northumbria, the old kingdom of Northumbria. And it tells the story of what happened to the bones of St. Cuthbert after he died. And there's lots of legend and myth and history around that. So much more to come about the album. Thank you for listening. It was really lovely to see so many of you watching. And if you've got any questions, then please do let me know. And if you're really interested in checking out the music, we filmed an introduction to art video on Holy Island with some drones, and it really looks beautiful. You can go on the Ard page now, ARD, or search for Ard Northumbria on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love your support, and please give it a share. Take care. Thanks for listening.